Howdy, folks. John Fries here. Welcome to Avia Yala Update. I'm joined by my co-host Javier Ramirez. And today, this video, we're going to talk about elections in Bolivia, Argentina, and Chile.
Bom
Okay.
dia, everyone. Um, as always, we said our perspective is indigenous from me and Buddhist from John. We continue our conversation on politics again. And this time, as we mentioned in the previous section, we focus on South Avellala. In other, we want to focus on North and Central Avellala. But it's interesting what's going on in Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile because of the close electoral process that are going through right now in October and November in those three countries. Um, Starting with Argentina, as we know, Milei have been a disaster regime. Um, the conservative would use the example of Venezuela and Cuba to be against any candidate or government that tends not to be conservative in Avellala. They always say, "Oh, that's going to be another Cuba, another Venezuela," but they don't see the disaster that Milei is doing. And the non-conservative candidates should said, "Oh, this candidate wants to make another Milei regime." That could be the best example because even though Milei have been keeping in control in economic terms, the inflation have been not increased, but that doesn't mean the Argentinians are better. He has dismantled many of the services that existed before. He has been against those who have discapacities, uh, those who are, retired. He's against education. It sounds similar to USA, is not different
He
because
he he's basically the Milton Friedman free
the
market
extreme,
capitalism.
the extreme of
Yeah,
Milton Friedman is
on
mild
steroids.
compared to him.
Yeah, yeah. Privatize everything, sell
Yeah,
off
he's
any. Yeah.
privatizing
No
everything,
social programs. Yeah,
no social programs. Fire everyone, dismantle the
yeah.
state, everything.
hmm
It's like
And on
that.
top of that, he goes to Israel and kisses the wall in Israel as well. He also
Yeah.
does.
Well, he's a crazy guy. He speak with his dead dog.
Yeah,
His dead dog gave him advice, to be a president. That's interesting,
he talks
But
to his dead dog.
yeah, he speak with his
I did not know that. I was
dead
never.
dog. Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. He has communication with his dead dog.
So so America likes him being in charge because it's this free market capitalism, and then I guess the ruling elite to some
Yeah, and
level like
yeah,
him being in
he
charge, but
he started, the government with the support of the Macri, which
uh-huh.
is a conservative too, and
But not
because of
as extreme. Yeah.
the Macri support, he won
Yeah.
the election.
Yeah.
And also, he has as a Villarreal as a vice president, a woman who has the support of the army, because his father, was part of the army. Those militaries that were
Mhm.
part of the military dictatorship.
She's the daughter of a general or
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Okay.
um, and
And
that's why she
then
has the support of the army.
and then Macri is in the Congress or whatever.
He has control. He had
Uh-huh.
control of the Congress, but
Okay.
right now, in the last local elections, and this is the interesting part, um, mm, he has been in power a year and a half already, almost
Yeah.
like that. And he had been really, he had destroyed Argentina and has protests constantly. Every week he has mobilization of people against his policies and everything. He used force, the police force, and he has been a brutal uh, regime in that sense. He's a libertarian and he doesn't allow freedom
Right.
uh, for people. It's interesting because he talk
Libertarian, but
about,
you're not allowed to protest
yes,
being a
you're
yeah,
not allowed to be against him.
yeah,
That's in and interesting because MAGA is the same. The MAGAs are freedom, but you're not allowed to criticize.
right. Yeah.
Um, it's
So
interesting
there's
that.
there's been a populist Peronista uh, social force that's been activated because of Malay's Milton Friedman
Yeah,
policy.
no, yeah, because Milei policies,
Mm,
economic policies, and the interesting thing is he is supposedly an economist,
yeah.
and that's why people say, oh, yeah, he will resolve the economy problem.
Mm,
And now they're even questioning a real economist because most of the books that he's write in author supposedly when people review other books is like like he has copy from
it's like
different
plagiarizing.
yeah he has copy from different sources and put it together and presented like his own idea when in reality it's not his own
Okay,
ideas.
maybe he reworded it a little bit, but it was basically other
Yeah,
people's
and
ideas. Yeah.
and he is following the Austria school.
Yeah, that's what all the yeah.
Yeah, you understand that. Then
Yeah.
yeah, it is really an economy that doesn't make sense. But and then that's why some people, question if he's really an economist or he understands economy.
Yeah.
Um, you know, we're not sure about that. Now he has as his strong, side person, his own sister, Karina Milei, and in the election, the last year elections, some local elections, his party advanced in some areas. Then they were, say, oh, in the next elections, we wanna give more lessons to you know, the opposition. Um, that he called it la casta. And for the Argentina, la casta is the political elite, and his um his statement had been that he's against La Casta, like when you hear, for example, the MAGA that they're gonna drain the
Mhm.
what they call it, the swamp,
It's the
and
fake populism.
yeah, and the MAGA is making the swamp bigger, that's what Milei is doing too. Then corruption has been really bad in recent times. Even there have been some audios, tapes that have been presented, and even the judicial power has restricted journalists to, air any other tapes that, present the corruption of the government because they control that too as a government.
Mm.
Then Milei is trying to stop all of that. And recently, there was a local election that was the biggest district or province. They call it provincia. The province in Argentina is Buenos Aires province.
Yeah,
Not it's within the city is within the province.
right,
Like Lake County has the Lake City. Then the
right.
province is like the county, and
It's like the
is the
county
biggest.
election for Buenos
Yeah,
Aires.
is the
Right.
biggest
Hmm.
province in Argentina and has 40% of the electoral vote.
Yeah.
Then Milei, put money and propaganda as much as possible because he was saying that he gonna show, the Peronista that he still has the support of the people.
Hmm.
And many of the surveys before the election said that his party will win, in 10 points higher than the opposition. They were saying that the governor of the province, who's a Peronista, he was the economy secretary of the Kirchner, the first government of Christina Kirchner. He was the secretary of economy. He had been the governor of the province, and they were trying to do really unified. There's three factions in the Peronistas, and Axel, whose name
Hmm.
is part of the Kirchner, fraction.
Okay.
But even though Cristina was not agree on his uh, strat- strategy for the electoral period, he was against the recommendation of Cristina, tried to unify the three, one is Massa and the other is the Kirchner, and there's another group. Then he unified and asked them to be unified for this election. And what? Because the province, from the 107 districts, 104 was won by the Peronistas.
Wow.
That's
Resounding
a
success. Yeah.
whole failure of this
Yeah.
that even Milei has to recognize on television, his
Mm.
headquarters, that they lost the election really bad.
Yeah.
And then Axel become, this now a new star in the Peronista because he unified all the factions and he won with 13%, you know, more than what was expected. 13% a different.
Right.
It's a big
Yeah.
defeat for Milei.
Yeah.
And considering that the next national election of the Congress is next month in October, this is a really disaster for Milei.
So this
Then
this could be a chance for the Peronistas to take even more
yes, it
power.
could be if they
Yeah.
continue to with the same strategy
Yeah.
on national level.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know how that's going to work, but at least in the province, they show that unity they could defeat Milei.
Yeah.
At the point that right now, even libertarians are getting against Milei, asking Milei to change policies, and Milei said no, we're not going to change anything. We'll continue. They have been asking that Karina not being involved in the government anymore, and he's not saying anything. Karina has been proved that she's a corrupt person, that she's
Hmm.
taking money and manipulating many things. Um, and Macri has been putting aside, and Macri is getting now upset of Milei too. And there's some voices too that I listen to some comments in YouTube channels that calling that the next presidential election, Milei not the candidate, but the one, the vice president, who has the support of the army to be the
Mm.
candidate, not Milei.
Right.
Then I don't know what's going to happen in that sense, but we need to see what's going to happen in October, really. I'm not sure if, at this point, if nationally they could, you know, there could be some result like in the Buenos Aires province. But if the Peronistas, establish a good strategy with the disaster economically that Milei is doing in Argentina, they have a great chance to take over the Congress.
Yeah.
If they take over the Congress, then they will have, at least something you know, to contrast Milei's
Yeah.
policies and in favor of the people. Then that's one of the hopes that people had, the return of these Peronistas could be different, and not the old Peronista, but a new kind of Peronista like Axel. Some of the
Mhm.
Peronistas are asking, that it could be the next president candidate too. He has not expressed anything yet, but could be a potential candidate in the future because of he's becoming a real how to say a charismatic leader is racing. It's a
Yeah,
racing star, at this point.
yeah, and he's a rallying point. People are rallying around him.
Yeah, yeah. There are many people is going around him and
Yeah.
listen to him. I have been interviewed even for TV who's our
Mhm.
opposition, and they have been welcome him. Not attacking so much, but because they understand the force behind him.
Yeah.
Then I think he has a great potential to become a candidate in the future.
Mhm.
Um, and maybe he can win the
Right.
election. We don't know.
Okay.
We will see what's happened, but still, it's too soon. You know,
Yeah.
too soon. 2 years is a lot for
Um,
political situations.
yeah.
Then we will see what happened in next
Argentina.
month
Yeah.
election. If the Peronista get control of the Congress, or at least you know
Mhm.
has more power, that could be something that will signal to the conservatives, forces that they need to start changing
Yeah.
some stuff and force Milei to make some changes. Not to be too extremist, but uh, Milei knows that he still has the support of the MAGA.
Yeah.
And if the MAGA support him, he knows that he can do many things, and he's not going to be criticized, and he's not going to suffer any consequences. That's why the monetary, the IMF, have been giving money to him. You know, when first they said they don't going to give it, but it's because the MAGAs are supporting
Yeah.
Milei.
There's the thumb on the scale. Yeah.
Yeah, then they want to guarantee that Milei or someone similar to Milei is still in power. And we'll see what's happening.
Mhm.
But that's the interesting part in Argentina is what was considered a year ago impossible. These recent
Well,
elections
yeah, because
show.
the Milton Friedman thing is it's so horrible that it collapses, and then that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Then Well, and remember, Millet is Austrian school. An Austrian school is the totally opposite of Freeman too. You know.
Oh, well, I mean, they're both extreme capitalism.
Yeah, they
Right.
are both
Yeah.
stream, but they are totally different. You know.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
sense of the
I
strike,
mean,
they
privatize everything,
yeah, but the strike they
cut all
present,
the social programs.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is different.
Yeah.
In a sense. Then and of course, they are trying to promote the dollar dominations.
Yeah.
You know. MLA will continue to push for that. Then how that is affecting, the other elections, especially in Chile, is interesting because after 1973, the coup d'etat against Allende, who was the first, communist
Hmm.
or Marxist communist
He
to be
he was
elected,
a member of the Communist Party.
but the Communist Party in Chile, and
Yeah.
he was a Marxist, and he said,
Hmm.
you know, all the time said that he was a Marxist. He became president of Chile, and of course, he couldn't finish the term because during as soon he assumed the power, you know,
There was a
everyone.
coup against him.
It was a whole process to be, he has uh, people against him all the time at the point that they even convinced his closer ally, who was the Minister of Defense, the Secretary of Defense, Pinochet, who was he was related to him,
Wow.
uh, and he did the coup d'état against him.
Because Fidel
Uh,
and Che were telling him he should have gone more hardcore and got rid of. the opposition, and he didn't listen to.
Well, because he was even though he was a Marxist, he was a democratic Marxist.
Yeah,
He believed in the democratic process.
yeah,
That's why he got involved in the election. And remember, at that time, communist parties believe in electoral process.
hmm
In Avellala, most of the communist parties at that time they were involved in a certain level
yeah,
in, in parliamentary and representative elections.
yeah,
They were not armed struggle parties. The armed struggle started not by the communist parties in different nation states. They were started by other people,
hmm
intellectuals, not necessarily communists, but they were, started the armed struggle, and then the latest, the communist parties later they joined at the time. But that's a different
yeah.
story.
But
The thing is, what's happened is, since that time, the dictatorship of Pinochet create this situation where the communists are bad, the communists are the devils, and we cannot allow the communists to take over anymore. And for a long time in Chile, to talk about communism or a communist is like, it was not good.
yeah, you're
Then
the devil if you do that. Yeah.
most of the governments that were against the Pinochet, you know, uh, were not communists. They were Democrats, not conservative, but not communists. And they were, more like you can call it centrists,
hmm
kind of people who become presidents in Chile. And you know, now the candidate of the one coalition that has is in power right now, the candidate that was elected is a communist. It's a member of the Communist Party
Same
of
party
Chile
as Allende.
as a gender, yes. And Jara, I think her name is Janet Jara.
Uh-huh.
She has not denied that she's a communist, and the opposition is starting to use the same rhetoric as always.
Uh,
The communists are bad. The
when
communists
was the
are.
election?
The election is going to be in November,
Okay,
and
so there was like a preliminary thing that she won, or what?
she won the party elections.
Okay, like
In Chile,
the
parties
primary.
has to do
Okay,
their own elections, internal elections,
okay,
to have the candidates that are going to
right.
run. Then she's running against an extreme conservative too, um, who's considered, a really fascist,
Like Pinochet.
worse than Pinochet.
Worse than Pinochet. Wow.
Yeah, he's Cafe. I think it's Cafe's last name or Gas.
hmm
He's I don't know if he's Austrian descendant or German descendant, something like that. But he's
Yeah,
been linked to Nazis and fascist
yeah.
people. He's an extreme conservative, and of course he's um, a dictator, favor. He favored any kind of force.
hmm
He's not a really Democrat person, but he's the candidate of the opposition. And Hara is the communist who's going to be the candidate who's
hmm
going to compete. Then right now there's other candidates, but at this point, most of the surveys said that these two are the ones who are going to go in the second round.
hmm
Most likely, they are the one going to be compete for the presidency. Then how Milei's factor could favor is that when she was elected candidate, many people were afraid that if Milei won that local election, that will create a hard situation for Chileans to vote for Jara.
hmm
Now that this election happened and it was against Milei,
The Peronista
uh,
won.
yeah, the Peronista won. Many people are thinking that Jara has a great chance to win.
Huh. So there's really
Uh,
a lot of influence between Argentina and Chile. Chile.
well, they are.
Next,
neighbors.
yeah, they're neighbors.
Said neighbors,
Yeah,
and they are neighbor with Bolivia. That's what we're talking about, those three
yeah,
countries.
yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, and Chile has a lot of extractive industry too.
Uh-huh.
Copper is one of the biggest industry, but also remember that the lithium triangle is between Chile, Argentina, and Bolivia.
Okay.
Then USA has already the lithium from Argentina, guaranteed,
That's why
extracted by.
Elon likes Malay so much.
Yeah, and that's why Argentina give it to a Zionist company to extract the lithium
Uh,
in Argentina. And in Chile, they were convincing the government in Chile to give it. We'll see how it had a one how that's.
is there a generational theme going on as well? Like, are there more young people that are for the communists or the Peronistas?
I think it depends, because of course the older people will tend to be either conservative or non-conservative.
Yeah,
Younger people, it's kind of difficult, because in Chile right now, the younger generations, 20s and 30s, are the ones who supporting Jara,
yeah,
are showing massively to
yeah,
her speeches in Chile, and they are, you know, for example, this September 11th, that was the anniversary of the Allende's
yeah.
coup d'etat. It was a
Oh wow,
big mobilizations
demonstration.
around
Yeah.
that,
Mm.
and mobilization of those disappeared.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
massacre that the Pinochet regime did. They
Hmm.
have been mobilizing thousands of people,
Yeah,
and you see olders, but also the majority of younger generations. Like I said, in the 30s, 30s especially are the ones who you see more mobilization, which is the generation that is going to be in charge of the country.
yeah,
It should be in charge right now, and it's going to be in the next two
right.
decades.
And they are more supportive of communism and they're less
Well,
willing
maybe
to
not
buy the
communism, but less conservative, we can say.
yeah, yeah. They're not
Not
willing to
necessarily
buy
communism.
the
Yeah,
old demonizing of communism.
yeah.
They're
They are not afraid of the communists
they don't fall for the
as per se, but
yeah.
they are not communists at the same time.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and
But they're yeah,
yeah,
they're
but they are seeing that as a hope for Chile.
yeah.
And the other interesting thing is Jara started her, as a communist, she started to talk in kind of extreme way. But then when she won
The
the
primaries,
party
whatever.
election,
Yeah.
and she's now the candidate. Now she had been more mild in her speech, talking more in a centrist way, not extreme.
Hmm.
And she's not talking about nationalizing anything or all of that stuff. But she's talking more about what social programs can help people, but continue with the capitalist economy. Um, then the other thing that it's interesting in many people is comment about is that Hara is taking the physical view like she's a bachelet, another bachelet, because she dressed like bachelet, you know,
And who
one
is
of the
that?
Bachelet is a former president. She was twice president of Chile,
Yeah.
and she was popular
Hmm.
during her um,
Okay, so she wants to be
two
another bachelor.
presidencies. Then yeah, she wants to look like her
Yeah.
hairstyle, the dress, the outfit she uses is
Yeah.
like you see in another bachelor.
Right.
That's one of the comments people does. I don't know if it's a strategy from her or
Uh-huh.
to make sure that people feeling like even though she's a communist, she's not a threat. But she will be
Hmm.
more like a bachelor. Then we'll see. The thing is, it has a lot of chances at this point. that she could be the next president in Chile, and we will see how that could, change. Also, the other interesting thing is United States didn't allow Allende to finish the presidency, and in this time another communists take power. How the MAGA are going to react is another point.
Yeah.
We need to see if the MAGA are going to allow another communist to be really president and do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Also, how much they're going to have in Congress support to
Yeah.
lose it. That's another thing in Chile.
Hmm.
Then right now, the extractive industry is powerful in Chile, and she, can convince those, elites involved in the extractive industry that could help her to become president.
Um, yeah, I'm wondering like if you said it's Axel in Argentina,
Mhm.
and then this woman Hara, is she related to the musician Victor Hara, or is it
No, no, she's not
okay?
related to Victor Jara. As
Okay.
far as I know,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, I'm wondering if both of them are looking at AMLO and Scheinbaum in Mexico and seeing that as like a model. Um,
It's interesting because some of the people that are in the coalition with Jara
mhm.
are using, AMLO and Sheinbaum as example of what they could do in Chile,
Yeah.
in the sense of how they could create that coalition that make
Make a
sure that
deal
they
with
can
the
get,
industries. Yeah.
yeah, they can get into the power
Yeah.
and maintain the power.
Hmm.
Yes, of course, Mexico is an example for those countries.
Hmm.
Even Axel in Argentina has mentioned Mexico as
Okay.
as example to follow. Then you hear that from Uruguay too. When the election happened, Mexico was
Mm.
mentioned, and Uruguay has a non-conservative government. But we'll see
Right.
what's happened in the election. The election is going to be soon, and hopefully, if Jara become the next president, we will see how the MAGA are going to react. Because remember, MAGA will be in power for another 2 years. Then it could be the term in Chile 4 years. Then we will see if they allow
Hmm.
Jara to, if she won, that she will be really the president
Yeah.
for the 4 years. That would be the hard part. And how also Jara, help the next one to continue.
Right. Can they do an AMLO Scheinbaum type of thing?
That's what we
Yeah. Yeah.
see. That's gonna be the challenge.
Yeah.
You know, but if Jara won, at least from the actual government to Jara, it's not gonna be a bad transition. You know,
Right.
but we will see, and that will be you know will show the world if really a communist could be president in Avellana
Yeah.
again. You know, someone who said I'm a communist and become president.
Yeah.
Um, because that's have been something impossible, for a long time.
Yeah.
Then most of the people who are not conservative, they don't call themselves communists. Um, and that is a challenge in Chile,
Yeah.
because of the that shadow of the Pinochet era. It's still there.
Yeah.
The army is still not a democratic army.
Right.
Then we'll see how the army also react. They had a won, because the army has been anti-communist, and I don't know if they're gonna allow it to have communists in
Yeah. Yeah.
power. Then we will see what's going to happen in Chile. Whatever happens is going to be a historical lesson for the whole region, in the whole Avellala.
Right.
Now, then we go to Bolivia, and Bolivia is an interesting scene because Bolivia was, um, mass the movement to socialism, um, you know, was in power for almost 2 decades. And then Evo Morales suffered a coup d'etat. And after a year, they regained power again. But then everything crumbled.
There was a division within MAS between Arce and
Yes,
Evo
there were three
factions.
different factions.
Yeah.
The Arcistas, the Evistas, and those who were supporting and what's his name, and Androgeno or something like that.
I don't know.
Um, you know, then it was really a whole, you know, this guy, I don't remember the exact name, but he was the president of the Congress.
Okay.
He was Evista first, but then Evo said that he was a traitor and he's not going to support. Then Evo tried to become a candidate, and the judicial power prevent Evo to become a candidate. At the end, Evo could not be a candidate even outside the mass. Then Arce said he will not look for re-election, and that's why this other faction tried to put this, that at the time before the election they thought that he could be the possibility to be in the second round,
Hmm.
but he finished fourth. Then right now the second round, that is in October or November, October I believe, is going to be between two conservatives. Um,
Right. Because there's division on the left, now the conservatives
yes,
have
and
an ability to
well,
step in.
Evo called for a stain, you know, and he was successful, because he was not a candidate. He asked his followers not, to, uh, not to vote,
Yeah.
and it was like the 19% of the vote followed Evo. Then he couldn't won, but he demonstrated, and this is, I can call it. It was an strategic suicide, political suicide,
Hmm.
because Evo has shown that without his support, no person from non-conservative position could be a president. Anyone who wants to be a president against the conservatives has to have the support of Evo. If not, they're not going to win.
Yeah.
And he demonstrated, because the Arcista was not even, I don't think they even got 1% of the vote. And the other, this younger
Hmm.
indigenous person who's the president of the Congress, he was uh, fourth place, then
Yeah.
it was really, he couldn't win because he didn't have the support of Evo. Then if Evo is not the candidate who wants to win needs to have the support of Evo. If not, they cannot win an election. That's is demonstrated now with what's happened. Now, what's going to happen is a conservative government is going to take power.
Hmm.
Most likely, it's going to be the Christian Democrat is the one that they said the most likely is going to win,
Hmm.
because the ex-president, who's the other guy, has too is too extreme conservative at this point, and most of the people in Bolivia is going to choose not an extreme conservative but more moderate. And the Christian Democrats, even though they are conservative, they are not extreme, and they want to give the chance to them. then most likely, probably that candidate is the one who's going to win the election. Now, what could happen is um, one thing is that this government could persecute Evo more
Hmm.
aggressively, and Evo, you know, could be going to exile. I don't know,
Hmm.
because it's gonna be not safe for him to be under a conservative government. Because even he was persecuted by Arce, now a conservative government, and both candidates have said they're gonna persecute Evo
Yeah.
anyway. Then they see Evo as a criminal. Then most likely Evo needs to decide if he continue the internal like auto exile that
Right.
he is,
Uh,
or
um,
then I think a great possibility is for Evo that probably he's gonna get out from Bolivia.
where would he
Uh,
go? Would he go to Venezuela or Mexico or?
I don't know because you know he could be he would like to be closer to Bolivia.
Hmm.
He has a great chance to be received with no problem in Uruguay and Venezuela and while Petro is still in power in Colombia.
Yeah.
But most likely, Venezuela is the best place if all of these situation with
Yeah.
the MAGA threat doesn't goes farther away.
And
Uh,
I heard that um, the labor movement was built up pretty strong in Bolivia. So could there be labor organizing to fight against the conservative government?
well, remember the indigenous movement is strong,
Yeah.
um, and the ones who have been defending Evo,
Hmm.
and where he is the indigenous communities,
Hmm.
especially the what is called the Ponchos Rojos, Aymaras
Yeah.
are the ones that have been showing, during the coup d'etat, they were the ones who were fighting.
Right.
Uh, and, you know, they are the most disciplined
Hmm.
indigenous group, the Ponchos Rojos. And and I know, because they were protesting in the capital of Bolivia against Arce, they were asking resignation of Arce, you know, um, then they definitely will be in a strong force against the conservative government. And of course, the mineros, um,
Hmm.
all of those unions are strong, miners and also farmers. Evo was a coca farmer, and
He
he was
organized the union. Yeah.
yeah, he was part of the union, also become
Uh-huh.
Congress member because of that, and then president. Then the cocaleros are still strong, you know,
Hmm.
organization, and they were the ones who resist the the coup d'état. Definitely, if the government is starting to be, to take some measures that people don't like, it's going to be protesting a lot in Bolivia. Mobilization, we will see how this conservative government reacts.
Hmm.
Um, if in case Tuto, which the ex-president become president for some reason, he he will repress. He is not a moderate person. He's an extreme conservative, and in his president, you know, he was like that. He doesn't like indigenous people.
Yeah.
Then he's conservative, But I hope that Tuto won't become president, But anyway, and any of those two are not gonna be good to advance what Bolivia was trying to do in 20 years. Those 2 decades of a different government are gone now, and whoever take power is gonna change everything. And like I said, most likely any of these two conservatives are going to give the lithium to the U.S. USA is going to get the lithium that they want, and Bolivia has the biggest uh,
Hmm.
part of the lithium
Yeah.
from the triangle. The biggest portion is in Bolivia, and that's why they promote the coup d'etat against Evo because they want the lithium. Now with this conservative government legally in power, now they have the chance to take the lithium. USA is going to have control of the lithium. That's definitely is going to happen. The gas was nationalized by Evo, and most likely is going to become again USA control because USA has the extractive power to do that. Then those companies, US companies, can go back and take over again. Many of the social programs that Arce was destroying are going to be eliminated. And of course, the disparity between indigenous and non-indigenous are going to be bigger now. Um, for so long, indigenous communities have been discriminated in Bolivia, and that's going to happen again. Uh, with whatever that changes, but we'll see that return to the past. Where those light-skinned people will continue discriminated and marginalize indigenous communities. Then, extractive companies are going to be welcomed into Bolivia back more this time under control of, USA and other countries. Um, Canada, Australia, and England has extractive companies that can take over. For a long time, British companies were in charge of the railroads in Saba Villala that could take control again, which is happening right now in Ecuador, because Novoa's family is not only the bananeros, but also they control the railroad. And the railroad are basically England, you know. Uh,
So the pendulum is swinging back to because there was division on the left, the pendulum is swinging back to the right in terms of the government, but um,
yeah,
the
yeah,
popular base will struggle against it. And then the
yes,
question is,
that's gonna be
can they reunify or not?
the whole scene right now in
Yeah.
Bolivia, because yes, all the uh, all the popular movements are still there, and
Hmm.
and they will check the government. Then that's why I said I don't believe people is gonna vote for the extreme conservative,
Hmm.
with the hope that they can have more influence on the less conservative. But there's gonna be a fight in
Yeah.
Bolivia. That's definitely is gonna be you know mobilizations, clashes with the police. It's gonna be a kind of ugly
Yeah.
situation until they things change. But that's the situation, and you know that could influence also, because Paraguay is a conservative government and Bolivia is gonna become conservative. Argentina is conservative still, and hopefully Chile will not become conservative. That's gonna be a whole,
Hmm.
situation that it's complicated in that region. And also Peru will continue to be conservative. Then all that, you know, Pacific coast and central part is becoming conservative.
Yeah.
Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, and Argentina. The only thing is that Chile is still not conservative, and Uruguay, you know, we will
Hmm.
see what happened with Lula in Brazil. Lula is weak, but still, BRICS helping to continue. And probably in another recording, we can talk about Brazil and Mexico especially. But that's the situation, and we will see what happened in the election in Chile. We know that the conservatives are taking power in Bolivia.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's going to happen. Whatever advance, the non-conservative forces did in 20 years in Bolivia are going to be changed completely.
Yeah, I mean, there's division. The question is, can they reunify themselves? Um, and how much of what they've done organizing themselves will be able to stay in place?
Most likely, probably they
You can't,
will
I
be
mean, I
able
wouldn't
to.
imagine that the whole thing, like, yes, the leadership fell apart, but that doesn't mean everything is going to get
Yeah,
wiped out. But that's the question. Yeah.
most likely this, it's something that they did with some reasoning, and they will try to, the problem would be if Evo stay in Bolivia and wants to get elected in some way. He cannot be a candidate by law.
Yeah.
They have been already saying he will not be able to be, a person who could be elected to
Hmm.
any, any position. Then um, most likely what he needs to do is to build other figures, and those figures needs to look for the support of Apple in
Yeah.
order for them to win. That's will be the challenge. Then the artistas now know that they are the weakest
Yeah,
fragment.
they've proven themselves to be
Yeah, they
like
are
the
almost
lesson is that doesn't
disappear.
work. Yeah.
They are almost disappearing.
Yeah.
Artistas are no longer a force.
Yeah.
Um, Only the Rodriguez and the Vistas are the ones who are still,
Yeah.
could make the difference. And of course, the popular movements will probably force them to look for some resolution. You know,
Yeah.
and it's going to depend on how the conservative government act too,
Yeah.
how strong they start the government. That's going to be an interesting part. You know, but that's the situation in the southern
Yeah.
part of Argentina.
Okay. So that's it for today. We will be back to talk more about politics, but also more about Buddhism and indigenous practice as well.